What's up everybody, Serenity here, and today I'll be discussing the balance changes that we had in the Operation Dustline. I'll also be discussing some other patch notes that might affect the metagame and the general gameplay of the game. So let's get straight to it. The first one is that IQ's gadget now displays the silhouette of the gadget she's looking at. This is going to help her spot Valkyrie's cameras, and it's gonna help IQ know what's going on in a room without having to enter. That's also a pretty big counter to Pulse, because now, even if Pulse is not moving, IQ will know that it's a heartbeat sensor. Pulse now has to find some hard cover, or else he's risking taking a shot to the head by IQ. I feel like now IQ is going to be used a lot more than she used to. I mean, she received a pretty big buff, and Thatcher received a pretty big nerf. And because of Valkyrie, the attacking team now has to pay attention to those gadgets. If they don't, it's just gonna go horribly for them. The only nerf to IQ in this patch is that she can't see through smoke grenades anymore. It was really cool in theory, but it was really hard to pull off practically. And let's be honest here, it didn't make any sense. So I guess you could say that IQ will now be used as she was intended to. So they made the Tachanka LMG a lot easier to place now, and Tachanka can get on and off of it really quickly. That's obviously still not going to cut it for competitive play, but for those of you that like to play Tachanka, that's a well-deserved buff. In the patch note, it says that they're not done buffing him. That's a pretty good sign, you know, maybe they're gonna come up with a crazy, creative and really radical buff, because it seems like that's the only hope at making him useful. You know, the only thing that he's currently good at on PC is destroying walls, which is pretty hysterical. On to Montagne now. So it looks like they added shields on top of his shield. Now he's partially covered on the sides. That means that now he can get in a room and look both ways without getting shot in the sides. So in general, he just gets more information and is more safe when he has the shield deployed. So I like this buff. I think it's going in the right direction, but yet again, I feel like it's not enough and they need to buff something else with him. Maybe reducing the deployment time of his shield would help with that. Because as of right now, when he has his shield deployed, there's no reason to pay attention to him. And Montagne's job is to soak damage, not being ignored. If there was a way for him to quickly pull his pistol out at any moment, that would force the enemy team to deal with him instead of completely ignoring him. In most games, it just doesn't work, and he's really passive as of right now. So yeah, can't wait to see what they're gonna do with him in the future. Buck now has frag grenades, his C8 has less recoil, but the shotgun loses range. That is a huge buff to Buck. He's now going to be a great fighter. So maybe, you know, the top fragger of a team picks Buck and gets a lot of kills with him. Honestly, I really don't know where he stands, so only time will tell if he's viable in competitive play or not. So Frost doesn't have her nitro cell anymore. I kinda disagree with this, and here's why. Frost is really good on consoles. Shotguns are amazing on consoles, and the Super 90 is a pretty good shotgun. Her welcome mats are really good for console players because it takes a long time for them to look at the ground and then to look up, so they can't really go through windows all that much. It's just really hard for console players to deal with Frost. But on PC, I mean, the shotgun is not that big of a deal anymore, and the traps at a medium to high level are not that useful, because now players that go through windows, they just flick at the ground really quickly and then flick back up. Of course, that's a slight disadvantage, but that's not good enough. I feel like on PC, Frost needed that nitro cell, and on consoles, it was too much, and they decided to take it out. You know, I wish Ubisoft would balance the game differently from platform to platform, just like Overwatch is planning on doing. But of course, I'm just a player, I don't understand how complicated that would be. Thatcher's EMP grenades gets a range reduction. I am loving this. This is like buffing IQ. This is kind of making the attackers have to actively hunt those gadgets down instead of having Thatcher throw his 3 EMP grenades and taking everything out. It's just making the attackers put more effort into the preparation to the fight, which is a very good change in my opinion. Sledge doesn't have breach charges anymore, they're replaced by stun grenades. I like this change because the breaching charges were really redundant with his special ability, but I still think the frag grenades are going to be the best option 99% of the time. Thermite doesn't have frag grenades anymore, he has stun grenades instead. Now that's a big deal because he won't be able to take out the batteries or the jammers on the other side of a wall anymore. Before you could just make a hole above the wall or just throw the grenade through the vent holes. Now you 100% have to ask your teammates to take them out for you. So it's basically forcing teamwork and communication, which is not a bad thing. We'll see how this pans out. So the FBI SWAT recruit shield now has heavy armor and low speed. Honestly, I feel like that's a good change because good players would just do insane stuff with this and it was overpowered. And it's not like shield players are going to lose their role. Blitz is still pretty good. You can now cancel animations midway through. Of course, that's going to partially remove the battery trick, but just think about it. The battery trick is like based on us fighting over in-game mechanics. I feel like this is going to higher the skill cap of the game and just make the game feel a lot better. So they reworked the red dot sight and the reflex sight. I personally still won't be using them all that much, but for newer players, this is a really good thing. I mean, let's be honest, the old sights look terrible, and so this patch is going to at least make all the sights viable. So the flash hider and the compensator are now consistent with what they do. The flash hider helps with the first shot recoil, and it brings back the weapon to its original aiming point faster. The compensator is going to reduce the maximum recoil. So basically, if you like to go for tap fire, go with the flash hider, and if you like to spray, go with the compensator. It used to be like super counterintuitive because it was case by case, but now they make sense and it's great. So they changed the way stun grenades work. Before it was a 3-second fuse after you threw it, but now it's 1 second after it hits something. So now it's basically like CSGO, so try to make it bounce off a wall or something. I'm pretty sure it's going to make the pros use them a lot more because the skill cap is now super high for this gadget. And yeah, can't wait to see the Pro League with the stun grenades. And for the last balancing tweak, they buffed the pump action shotguns in the game. Here are the exact numbers. I don't really know exactly what that means, so I'm gonna have to test them out, and if I really like them, I'll make a video on them, but I'm probably not gonna like them too much. That's probably a big deal for console players because on console, it's pretty hard to go for the head, so shotguns are really good. So yeah, for you guys that are using controllers, tell me how better they are. I just personally prefer being more versatile. One random thing that I wanted to talk about is that the camera and the top of your head are now closer. So you know those instances where you couldn't even see the guy shooting at you, but he was shooting at the top of your head? Well, that's apparently going to happen a lot less. So yeah, I'm pretty stoked about that, to be honest. That was really frustrating. The car windows are now destructible, which is a huge deal. I mean, on some maps it's going to help the defenders a whole lot. For example, here on Consulate, if you would plant the diffuser there, it would be over. Someone would just camp behind that car and there would be no way of taking back the site because that attacker would just look at you through the window and pre-fire you. You would have to run across the open field and get to him, which would be suicide. On some other maps like Bank, there was some crazy pre-fire spots for the defending team. Removing that is obviously going to help the attacking team. Overall, it was just really overpowered and I'm glad they fixed that. And the last note I want to talk about is the lighting. It's now much better if you're looking inside while outside and vice versa. I like this because now the defenders will have to get outside a lot because of Blackbeard. You know, Blackbeard repelling means that you have to go outside. If you have to go outside, you have to make sure it's clear first, so you have to see outside, right? And for the attacking team, I mean, it's just a good thing that the attacking team can see inside the building because that's where they have to go, so that's less luck and I really like that change. We have been begging for months and it's nice to see that they listened. So in general for this patch, they buffed a lot of operators that would not be picked a lot. They nerfed operators that were instant picks. They made the game a lot more fun to work with and the game is easier to pick up from a new player, which is good for us in the long run. So I have to say Ubi did a really good job with this patch. Of course everybody is asking for an anti-cheat and better servers and stuff like that, but I can assure you they're working on it. Alright guys, that's it. If you're watching this video on the day it was uploaded, I'll be streaming today and maybe tomorrow. My next video is most likely going to be the one where I show my settings. After that, I might make a gameplay video and I'm going to try and get an operator guide before Dustline hits the non-season pass holders. Alright, well thanks a lot for watching guys. I'll see you in the next one. Let's now get into the arguments against the one-shot headshot. First, at a competitive level, most of the weapons are useless because if it's a one-shot headshot game, all you really need is a gun that shoots quickly and accurately. You know, damage is a negligible stat if you can hit the head. Here's an easy way to visualize this. Imagine there's a ghost right behind you that follows you everywhere you go. It's separated from you ever so slightly. That ghost is where other players see you.